the role of de-dollarization in decolonization of some African poor countries. So the role of de-dollarization in uplifting and freeing some African countries economically, decolonization, and all those facts we saw in the previous session. And when the session was becoming all the more interesting and exciting, like a fairy tale, it had an anticlimax end due to shortage of time. So all the members felt that some more time was required to quench their thirst of interesting information. So this today's session is planned in a different and unique way by converting it into more of a question and answer session. So some questions have been designed from a global perspective and Indian perspective. I think the doubts or the enthusiasm of all the participants may be addressed in that question and answer session. If any questions remained unasked, so members are free to ask the questions uncovered during this question and answer session. So we have framed some questions from global perspective and Indian perspective. I think these are the common questions that arises in the minds of our participants. If any questions remains unasked or unanswered, members are free to raise their question at the end of the session. So today's session will be unique by this question answer session. So welcome Mr. Umre sir and all the participants for today's session. And regarding Umre sir, I need not introduce him again because no point in introducing the son. So in the previous session, he has already been introduced sufficiently, and because he is a member of our fraternity only. So most of the members may be knowing that he is a retired commissioner of customs and GST, and his contribution to environmental sector as significantly as he contributed to the department, and he was trained in very reputed international institutions in Singapore, in South Korea, and in US. And he has authored 2 books. And this today's topic is chosen from one of his books, De-Dollarization, A Quest for Economic Sovereignty. And his forthcoming book, Broken Compass, Reclaiming the Republic, on Governance, Constitutional Values, Democracy, and Future of India's National Building Journey, is eagerly awaited. So friends, today we are eagerly awaiting Umre sir to cover up the points left out in the previous session. And after 10 or 15 minutes, the whole session will be converted into question answer session. So this is the uniqueness of today's session. So I welcome all the participants once again, and Mr. Umre sir.
To get him online, it's taking time. I think he has come. There's some, I don't know what is the problem. Anyhow, sir, can you speak, sir? Unmute yourself. You click stop sharing and don't, sir, you can start speaking, sir. Unmute, start speaking. This is the problem as technologically becomes sophisticated. Sir, switch on the audio. That's enough, sir. We can start. Sir, switch on audio and speak to me, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. Can you hear me?
I think you are through, sir. That's enough, sir. Wonderful.
Sir, wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
Yeah, we have done preliminary work as told by you. But now only questions we may have to answer straight away, sir.
Correct.
Bharatraj is ready.
So,
if you are ready, we will start, sir.
So good evening, everybody. My apologies for the technical glitch, which was not in my control. And let's start off from here today. So as in the last session, we have already we have seen the what de-dollarization was basically about. And so we are just today, we will be having more of an interaction session, more of a, rather than a monologue, let it be a conversation as we discussed. And I would request our Kodandaram sir and others to take it over, and we'll have a more of a dialogue. Like, as I said, like de-dollarization is the thing that is happening. It is a historic process which is on. And it's a transition taking place today here from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. So yeah, so I am. We can just take it and let us begin this conversation. Welcome to this evening today.
Yes. So welcome to you, sir. Welcome to you. We will request Mr. Bharatraj to shoot out the first question, which is very, very important.
Sir, first one, basic question, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Why has the de-dollarization become such an important issue today?
See, this is a very important, this is an important question itself, because the de-dollarization, we are living in a times which are basically witnessing significant economic transitions. And what is basically the world is also seen as an excessive dependence on the US dollar, which has given the dollar basically it has become kind of a weaponizing, it has become a weaponization of the financial system, which can blackmail all the economies of the world. And therefore, like a lot of countries around the world have are trying to see how they can have a more equitable international financial system where they would not be susceptible to any blackmail by the dollar system, and to make it more democratic financial international order. So that is why I think de-dollarization is become such an important issue of the times here today.
Yes, sir. So then, is it an anti-American movement, sir?
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that this is just general perception that when you talk of de-dollarization, we think it is an anti-American movement. But it should be very clear that it is nothing about de-dollar. It is not about anti-dollar. Like, it is not about anti-US per se. It is not about opposing the US. It is only an attempt to make the international financial system more equitable, and to make it a more diversified monetary architecture. That means apart from the dollar, other currencies can also play and become in currencies of international trade and finance, so that it reduces the weaponizing effect. So it is certainly not an anti-American movement. Yeah. No, I think this is a misconception which needs to be clarified. Yeah.
Sir, is the US dollar likely to disappear with the de-dollarization, sir?
No. I think, this is another one that it is, as I clarified, this is not about an anti-dollar movement. And it is therefore, it does not mean that the dollar will end in the coming times. Certainly not. Like, the dollar will continue to exist. What basically de-dollarization means is the dominant place of the dollar, the dominance, a preeminent dominance of the dollar will dilute, and other currencies will also come in place. So it is certainly not, it does not mean that the dollar will disappear. Yeah. Dollar is a very strong international currency. It will continue to play an important role in the economic, international economic affairs. And side by side, other currencies will also play an important part. That is what it means.
Can we say every country will get sovereignty over their economy? They need not. Is that the way? Can we explain it? So that there is an equitable distribution of wealth all over the globe rather than one place.
Yeah, I see. If you see basically, if you see the book's title, it said de-dollarization. And the subtext is the quest for economic sovereignty. And there lies the answer to the question that you're raising, because even if countries have got political independence, the economic independence is not complete, because a lot of their economies are tied with the international financial architecture, tied with the dollar system, tied with the IMF, the World Bank, the SWIFT system. And that's why the economic independence is not complete. And therefore, we say the quest for economic sovereignty, this is what de-dollarization is. And therefore, yes, in the coming times, it seeks to make the world more democratic. That means every country will have its sovereignty, reclaiming their sovereignty, so that they have their say in the decision making of the economics of the country, and not really dependent by what happens to the dollar there. Now suppose the dollar, suppose there is this there is an inflation in the US dollar. It has effects on all countries, because we need to have foreign exchanges reserves with us. So therefore it is dependent, and therefore this dependence will reduce. So yeah, it will become more, economic sovereignty. Countries will be able to reclaim it. Yes.
Yeah. Sir, there is one interesting angle. Last time also I wanted to ask. There is a digital economy. India is becoming a biggest digital economy of its own. And more so, all the countries are imitating India to digitalize their transactions. Whether this will have a direct threat on de-dollarization and we can conquer our sovereignty through this a bit more in a faster way.
See, this is a very important thing that is happening, what is called as a central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. And this is not only India, it is other countries as well. The digital currencies are basically, while they will not replace per se the traditional currency, but they will supplement the currencies, and thereby they will accelerate the process of de-dollarization. That's what it will basically mean. So,
wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
This is also, yeah.
Please, sir.
Then, sir, according to you, sir, what role is BRICS playing in this transformation? And will BRICS will introduce a new currency, sir?
If you see, we have discussed last time about the BRICS. Basically, BRICS is what is driving this whole de-dollarization movement. Means a major driving force behind the de-dollarization is the BRICS countries. And a little historical insight, if you see why BRICS, because major country like Russia was put under sanction after the Crimea War in 2014. And while that time the sanctions of the US were partial, but with time, after the Ukraine war in 2022, the sanctions were severe. In the sense, the US was actually cut out from the international financial architecture, means the SWIFT. And that is why the BRICS countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, then they came together to decide we should have a alternate or another currency. So they have basically come up with a BRICS reserve currency, which is still in the making. There is still time, and maybe there is still time for it to actually materialize. But therefore, BRICS is playing a very important role in driving this de-dollarization. We can say that.
Yeah.
Then where does India will fit into this changing global order, sir?
I think India has a very important role here in this changing emerging order. See, India is a country which is, our policy is basically seen as what we call a strategic autonomy. Like India is it traditionally always has been right from the non-aligned movement days. It has been trying to balance everything in the world. So while on the one hand they are linked with the dollar system and they are not going to give up the dollar system, but at the same time India is seeking the parallel other alternative sources of currency, because see, India's one of the, if we see today, and the last 1 month we have been seeing the continuous fall of the rupee against the dollar. And why is that? Because India has always needed more and more dollar for its foreign exchange reserves. That's what India always needed it. And therefore, the more dollar we need, more dependent we become on the international financial system. And because our exports are less than our imports, we always are under pressure. Our oil bill, the energy bills are going high, and therefore there is always a strain on an economy for more dollar. So India tries to diversify from a dollar-based economy to a non-dollar. Therefore, we have the rupee-ruble trade with Russia, where we are trying to import oil from Russia in rupees. Like we earlier used to do, import oil from Iran in rupees. So India is trying to, while diversify from the dollar currency, at the same time, it wants to also engage with the dollar in a balancing world. So yes, India has a very strategic role to play. And mind it, in this year, India is sharing what is called the BRICS. Every year has a rotating presidency. So this year, India is having the presidency, and therefore India has a very key role to play in taking the BRICS movement and the de-dollarization movement forward. Yes, so India has a very important role, and it is known by the strategic autonomy. That is our, foreign policy in terms of the economics is concerned.
Sir,
what role will gold play in the future monetary system, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, we are a country of gold, so gold is important for us. See, this slide should be important for us. Gold.
Yeah.
What happens is earlier when the dollar system was there, earlier the dollar, Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when the dollar was there earlier, the dollar was basically linked to gold. 1 ounce of dollar was basically no, 1 ounce of gold was $35. So in 1944, when the dollar was made the reserve currency for the world, the dollar was linked with gold. So you cannot print dollars just like that. They say for $35 you need to have 1 ounce of gold. So dollar was intrinsically linked to gold. In 1971, that linkage of the dollar was, delinked from the gold when Mr. Nixon was the president. So that's what it comes into being what's fiat currency. The dollar was no longer linked to a gold, and they could print as much gold as much dollar as possible. This new BRICS currency, which is the proposed currency, what they are doing, they're trying to link the new proposed currency to three natural resources: to gold, to rare earths, and to petroleum. So gold is a very important component, again, emerging in the financial architecture of the world. So gold is important, and it going to, and therefore, if you see, if you want to track down in the last 2 years at least, India has tried to accumulate more and more gold, which were in the foreign banks. They're trying to bring it back. Even the major countries like Russia and China are accumulating gold. So gold has a huge future in terms of the emerging new financial architecture. Gold has an important role, sir. If you see this strike.
Then what is the effect of Bitcoin, sir? Is it a threat to sovereign currency, sir?
Once again, what's the
Bitcoin? What is the effect of Bitcoin apart
Yeah,
from
sir.
gold?
Sir,
What
let
is
me
the
explain
effect of
that.
Bitcoin? Does it affect the sovereign currency, sir?
Sir, before completing this question, I wanted to add something, sir. This currency, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, which have been thrown open all over the world to all the people, it appears to be a parallel economy that is going to harm, because there is no accountability or transparency with any government as far as that account is concerned, as well as the people who are the shareholders or the beneficiaries there are also cannot be tracked by each country. It is totally a kind of an anonymized way of transaction without any limit, and at any time the entire exchange may collapse without any relief to anybody. It will be like another kind of a Ponzi scheme. It will become. So with that in view, how the de-dollarization and the reduction of the power of dollars, vice versa, this cyber currencies will play in the future, because cyber currency has no credibility at all. So with that in view, how you feel the new world order, sir?
See, this is a what is a critical question, yeah? And very important question. The cryptocurrencies have basically added a new dimension in the whole debate of de-dollarization. When he talked of de-dollarization, basically the basic approach was to see how the dollar will be diluted and other currencies will float up and occupy that space of international finance. So cryptocurrency, whether you see in the times of de-dollarization or with the dollar dominance era, cryptocurrencies are existing as a parallel economy. Cryptocurrencies still recently, and in large countries around the world, they have not accepted the cryptocurrencies as a legitimate mode of transaction. So cryptocurrency basically existed as a parallel currency of trade, and it continues to exist. And some countries have tried to give it some kind of a legitimacy. So short point here is cryptocurrencies are emerging and there is no looking back. The Bitcoin system and all, it is emerging. It will continue to play its role, it will occupy a certain space of, because you see, like, if they're in international financial transactions, all is to be done by the currencies which are the accepted currencies like dollar, euro, yuan, other currencies. This cryptocurrency has a space beyond that, and that space will gradually grow. Like, for example, suppose now there is, suppose for example, if you see cryptocurrencies are 1% of the international transaction today, it will continue to grow. It will continue and exist as a parallel economy, parallel monetary system continue to grow. And in times, the governments will have to acknowledge the existence of the cryptocurrencies and and factor that into their economic policies. So my comment will be that cryptocurrencies are basically disrupting the economic system, the settled economic system. It is a parallel system which is go, and it will continue to grow, and we cannot control it because it's a parallel system.
Sir, then sir, one more question. Because of de-dollarization, will SWIFT lose its dominance, sir?
Will?
Because of de-dollarization, will SWIFT lose its dominance?
Yeah. See, this I have a slide here which I want to show you for this SWIFT. 1 minute. Yeah, see, basically, if you see SWIFT was basically controlling, it is basically what you can say, it is a nerve center of the international financial system. Every transaction has to go through SWIFT, and that's how like it. And that is where it has also, when you say weaponization of the dollar, that means the person who controls SWIFT basically controls the international financial architecture. That is the reason the US and the Western countries were able to sanction other countries, and they were able to also freeze the Russian assets worth $300 billion after the Ukraine war. And therefore, what we see here is Russia and China have both come up with a system which is parallel to SWIFT. And Russia has come up with what is called SPFS, that is a system for transfer of financial messaging. And China has come up with cross-border interbank payment system. Both these systems have been evolved over a period. It has evolved over a period of time, more than 5-7 years. I think as the Russian system was introduced in 2017. So it's been in the making. It was a futuristic thought from there to see if a situation arises, they should have a mechanism. So today, yes, there is a competitor to the SWIFT, that is the Russian system and the Chinese system. They will not be as robust, and they have still a more distance to travel before they become as robust as SWIFT. But definitely, there is a challenge to the SWIFT from SPFS and the CRPS, both Russian.
Sir, I have one question to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
This SWIFT, SPFS, CIPS, or India's escrow methods, whatsoever, they don't have any space for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin doesn't fit into any one of them because it is not orderly. It's simply kind of a transaction with individuals. So in that event, can it be a internationally a kind of a consideration on which people can do transaction, especially when country imports, country exports, where country is paying the money? Can Bitcoin jump in there because they don't have a place here?
See, therefore, we in the last discussion, what we mentioned, basically the crypto market or cryptocurrency whole area is a parallel economy. And these, what we talked about, the SWIFT, the SPFS and CRPS, these are the accepted international modes of currency transfer and payment systems. So any legitimate transaction of import-export will necessarily have to go through this system. Having said that, when countries have been, even when these two other systems were not there, CIPF and SPFC, and SWIFT was the sole mode of transaction for international currency. And at that time, countries like Venezuela and Iran were under huge sanctions, and they need to do that trade. How will they do the trade? So two ways they were doing. One was with the mutual currency, Venezuela used to do the currency with Chinese currency, the mutual trading currency. Iran used to do mutual currency trading with Indian oil. We used to buy from rupees. A certain portion of that may not be very prominent, but in let's say, as again we say parallelly, some part could be with the cryptocurrency, but very minute, non-official, parallel. That's what we can say. As of now, under the three systems that we put, the crypto doesn't fit in here. As it is, it's a parallel economy. That's how it functions and stays there.
Let us open it to any listeners. Do you have any questions, sir? So that it becomes more interesting. Whatever we have discussed till now, on those issues you can, because we have another big list, myself and Bhartraj, in coordination of Umre, we have collected. So we will ask questions. We will give you a chance now. Anyone, please, sir, unmute yourself and ask.
Sir, Vinay, can I speak?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr.
please go
Vinay,
ahead.
please go ahead.
Sir, good evening. Umre, sir, good evening. I had met you in the office.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Vinay. Yes, tell me.
Yes, sir. Sir, de-dollarization is a very welcome move. And I'm proudly saying as an Indian that process of the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Having said this, I have an observation after having followed international politics and the economies of various countries and their economic transactions. And you also shared that concern of mine very quickly in your presentation, which is the yuan is slowly emerging as another very strong currency, given that BRI project and the way the Muslim countries are moving away from dollars and getting into the vicious circle of the yuan. So, do you, and I personally felt the yuan the next 1 or 2 years would play a very major role in controlling the economies of various countries. Do you think that's something of a concern?
I think this is a question I think which basically is at the heart of the de-dollarization debates today. And yuan, the Chinese currency, is emerging as a major international currency, as a challenger to the dollar. Because mind it, the two things that has happened, two things, and I was mentioning, when the Venezuela episode happened in January of 2020, this year, when the Venezuelan president was kidnapped by the US. So, and we heard the story that there was this narco-terrorism and drugs trade, and that's the reason the presidents were put out. But the real reason for it was Venezuela has been under sanction for like last more than a decade because they had, why? Because they had nationalized the oil and they had basically thrown out the foreign companies which were exploring oil in Venezuela. And those foreign companies were largely Western US based companies. So they were, when they nationalized the oil, they were put under sanction by the US. When they were in a sanction, they could not sell their oil under the dollar or the SWIFT system. That's where yuan stepped in. The Chinese yuan stepped in, and that's where the Venezuela oil trade could continue and they could survive because of the yuan. Number two, the Iran. Similarly, they had a sanction and they could not sell their oil. So Chinese yuan stepped in. And Chinese, so they started buying the oil. So petrodollar, which is basically the one of the foundational and important pillar of the dollar system, was slowly being chipped into, and petrodollar being replaced by petro yuan, because two major oil producing countries have switched over to yuan currency. So that was, and that is the reason why in both these cases we see a strong US backlash against these two countries, and whatever may be the reason put forward. But the part of the matter was that the Chinese yuan has been making inroads in the dollar space. Number one. Number two, you must have heard about the Belt and Road Initiative of the Chinese government. China. So Belt and Road Initiative is something which around more than 120 countries, they have the infrastructure projects going on in Africa and Latin America and so on. And in all these countries, the investment is in the Chinese yuan. It is not in the dollars. The Chinese yuan is invested. So therefore, Chinese yuan basically is coming up in a big way as a currency of international trade. And that is basically eating into the dollar space. And I'll just show you one basically slide here. I think we can come later, but okay, I want to show this. To answer your query, it is this one if you see. Can you see this slide? No, it will come. It will come. So Chinese, the yuan of Chinese, the Chinese yuan is basically emerging. And if you see the screen on your, the chart on your screen, basically, if you see, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So basically, if you see in the year 2000, the share of the dollar in the international foreign reserves was 71%. And the share of the non-traditional currencies was 1.7%. That is year 2000. You come to 2025, and the share of the dollar has come down to 56%, and the share of the non-traditional currencies has come to 12%. This is very, in this 12%, what is basically more increase is the yuan. So basically, you got the point. So this is basically, these figures will show you that how the yuan is rising. So now the question was about what should how should the world perceive it? My approach to it is the dollar, as it dominated the whole globe, now there is a challenger to the dollar. But one thing is sure, that the world does not want one hegemon to be replaced by another hegemon. One superpower replaced by another superpower. That is not what the world was. That is not what the de-dollarization is about. De-dollarization, therefore, is about from a unipolar to a multipolar, from a dollar-dominant system, not to a yuan-dominated system, but to a system in which yuan, euro, rupee, ruble, and some other this kind of currencies will coexist with dollar. So there may be apprehensions about the rise of yuan, but I think it's only natural because, after all, you should understand that China is the manufacturer of the world.
Yes.
It is a fact which we have to, accept it. Even in, I'm sure that in our homes and wherever we are sitting, 30 to 40% things would be Chinese made. So it's like a globalized era, and therefore the Chinese currency is here to stay and is going to play an important part in this whole debate of de-dollarization.
That was clarified very well, sir. Sir, Mr. T.L.C. Sridhar, another speaker is there online. Sir, Sridhar, sir, please ask.
Yeah. I have three areas to ask. One is about gold linking, and second is UPI, and third is crypto. So start with the gold linking. As you rightly said, initially the entire currency to be printed by any country was linked to the gold holding. So subsequently, when Nixon shifted it de-gold, the currency of American dollars, so he could print without having gold with him, and he could print as much as he wanted. Now again the dollar requirement, prices of the dollar keep fluctuating on the demand and supply basis. So the more dollar controlled the international trade, there was always demand for the dollars. Now with the countries transacting with their mutual currencies like rupee, ruble and all, with the result the requirement of the dollar, demand of dollar for these transactions automatically came down. Automatically the prices also have to fall. But the question is that when these things happen and the relation between, suppose I take rupee ruble, the conversion rate of each will be with reference to the dollar price, dollar to ruble, dollar to rupees. That will be the conversion rate for the rupee ruble transaction. Is it so, or is there any other mechanism for determining the price transfer? What is the quantum of the money that has to flow from each country? That is number one. Now, second, the SWIFT and other modes which are there. Now UPI is catching up. Almost more than 20 countries have made an agreement with India that you can go ahead with the UPI transactions. That is why even I don't have to carry dollar when I go out. I can just have my UPI card and I can transact with those transactions over there. So in other words, these transactions remain outside the purview of the dollar movement. So dollar requirement is not there, and since that demand goes down, that's the means logically the price of dollar should go down automatically. That is what is there. This thing. Now third area I'm talking about the crypto. I'm putting all questions together so that you can take accordingly. You can put the answers there. Crypto is sucking a lot of money into its system. You know, it's something like we had an old system of hundi. Like anybody could draw a hundi, other one accepts the hundi. During the period of their honoring period, you could transact it. It was a transferable instrument which can be accepted over there. It is something like that, but it is in the electronic form. But as Padmanabhan sir rightly put it, this is not backed by any government. The guarantee is not there. If tomorrow somebody ditches you, where will you go and demand for that money of yours that has gone into that? So that risk is always there when somebody deals with this cryptocurrency. So when this cryptocurrency is sucking money out of the system, running into the parallel, now how far it will come into the legal system is anybody's question. India has not accepted this as a legal tender, but in income tax, they have recognized virtual digital asset as an asset. But every asset has got a value attached to that. That is what it is taking into that. So the role of crypto. These were the three areas I wanted to have some clarification. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, I
Yeah.
have, sir, I have one more question.
Yes, please.
It is almost extension of Vinay Kumar's question. So, what are the biggest obstacles for rupee to become international currency, sir?
Yeah, I think we will. What are the biggest obstacles for rupee to become international currency, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
The first thing was, let's take it when you talk about rupee ruble. The first point was about the rupee ruble. So as I understand is, uh, rupee ruble exchange rate is not a factor of dollar. It's not a factor. It is independent of dollar. It's independent of dollar. It is between us, and that's how we did. There's a mechanism how we arrive at 1 rupee is equal to this much rupees. So that is an independent mechanism, and that basically was intended to see that we want to keep our whole thing outside the purview of the dollar, like non-dollar trade. So first thing, the exchange rate between rupee and ruble is not a factor of dollar. That is our mechanism, how we do it. Okay. And I lost track of so many questions which were there. Now the other point about
second was on UPI.
UPI, yeah, UPI is very. I think UPI is one of the things which has basically placed India on the map of de-dollarization as one of the leaders in de-dollarization. In fact, UPI has is widely talked about and appreciated around the world. So many countries in Africa and all are adapting UPI transactions, and India has emerged as one of the leaders in this. In terms of technology for UPI transactions, and I think that has basically demonstrated India's capacity of in fintech, financial technology, which is what when we say India is in both fields. It's with the dollar system also, and as well as it is pursuing a path which is the other currency movement that is on the basis of its technological strength of the UPI. UPI basically has contributed to yeah, there is. We have figures also in the book. We have a whole chapter on 1 minute. I'll give you specific on that. One sec. Yeah. So basically, the UPI transactions have reached. One second. Yeah. I'm not getting exact figure of how many transactions have been done in the UPI's reach rather.
Sir, do not worry, sir. We will take that data and exchange them. It is very difficult for you to take it out.
So essentially,
let us not worry on that, sir.
Yeah, so essentially the UPI basically has taken India, given a very leap jump in this whole debate of de-dollarization. It is our, let's say, it's our USP. As a more, it is driving our whole towards de-dollarization. UPI.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Sir, before taking the challenge, there's a listener who is waiting from long. I think Dr. Girish Mood. Kindly, sir, unmute yourself and ask your question, sir.
Yeah, hi everyone, and thanks, Harsh, for everything you do.
Sir, kindly introduce yourself, because for the first time we are listening to you. Please.
So I'm a cardiologist. I live in Bangalore, but I work in US. I have been associated with Harsh with many other projects. I do more of a social connectivity work in India. So currently, I have joined this meeting, staying in London now. I'm transiting in London. And the interesting part is I'm staying in a four-star hotel, but they do not have an AC. And this is all part and parcel of whatever the Ukraine-Russia war going on and the energy demand and so on. So I think it's a cliche. Nevertheless, I'll just come directly to the question to Harsh.
Can
It's
we
based
view
on
your face, sir? Can we have your video on? Or is there any problem?
I was
Yeah.
I will in a minute. I will definitely in a minute.
Yes.
I have a quick question to Harsh. I mean, it's going to be based on a few things, few observations. See, the quest for economic, um, supremacy or economic strengthening of the country, which here we are all interested about, India. Uh, the problem which I see is, see, the US, of course, the petrodollar or whatever the ways or means they became stronger, they had very good backing in terms of manufacturing and utilizing the same resources for taking control of a lot of aspects around a human being. Because as long as humans are there, there is business, and how you do the business also matters. When it comes to India, my question and challenge is, I mean, we spoke about digital currency and so on and so forth and parallel economy. The largest parallel economy in India is the black money. And how are you going to overcome and then really look at economic dominance with the current existing practices in India? Where I challenge about the manufacturing, I challenge about the scientific temperament, I challenge about supporting intelligence, intellectual abilities and capabilities, the governing norms, and so on and so forth. And before I end my question, I mean, I know this is a thread. Before I end my question, I think we should not forget where in Louis the 16th of French, when he was ruling his part of the nation, the most precious metal at that time was aluminium, and gold was what was served for the peasants and the helpers and the servants, and for the VIPs, they were served on aluminium. It's just a matter of fact. It's just a matter of time when you convert which metal into what and so on and so forth. So, I mean, yes, we are now depending too much on gold, or maybe this is going to be, then I think it doesn't take much time to convert one metal into another metal. So with all these challenges, and if we are really looking at India to regain that economic powerhouse, with all the challenges, how do you see our quest working towards economic supremacy?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Girish. First of all, thank you for joining in. Okay, this for the other viewers. Dr. Girish is a cardiologist working in the US and also in India. He travels back and forth, and a very we are closely associated for other social causes that we do. Okay, that being apart, so Dr. Girish has raised a very important question about the India's quest for economic sovereignty. And here lies, and I think if if you try to be answered in one line, I think de-dollarization is the key. I repeat, de-dollarization is in fact the key for regaining and retaining India's economic sovereignty. And why I say that, I can just is as follows. See, of course, we have challenges of manufacturing. We have challenges of research, investments in research, and we have a whole lot of problems here in terms of actual manufacturing taking place here. Even if we say made in India, but we import goods from outside and put our stamps, and we do assemble goods here. So that challenge is very much there. But beyond that, when you talk of de-dollarization, basically it's about what is the major, we last month until now, we said our rupee will touch 100 to the dollar. And what is that about? That is essentially about the fact that India is a nation which has always been under stress of foreign exchange. That means we have to have certain amount of dollar with us to be able to tide over our foreign exchange problems. And because our imports are more than our imports, than our export. So first thing is, how do we improve this balance of payment thing. But of course, improving export. And for export, you need to have investments, create the right climate for investment, create the right things here for manufacturing sector. That's largely we go into the domain of little politics or otherwise, so let it be there. But critical point is exports needs to grow up. For that, the manufacturing sector has to basically take it up. And those not only manufacturing, but they have to be competitive internationally. You may manufacture, but it has to be competitive, and it has to be the standards of the world. And therefore, our basic point is our exports are less than our imports. That is number one. And secondly, what is adding to the export? A large part of our import bill is energy bills, oil bills. Large part of energy requirement, our petroleum requirement is around, they say around a huge percentage goes for our payment, dollar payment for our oils. Now, if you see, here is the question here, an important thing to note for everybody, why we say that. Till recently, ever since the Ukraine war started, we were basically buying oil from Russia. We were buying oil from Russia under ruble. Okay, and this is, you can see the screen, which yes, it gives a. So basically, Russia was supplying around 35 to 40% of India's crude imports, and this is a huge amount. And this we were paying in rupees. This we are paying in rupees. That means for this much quantity of our imports, for our crude imports, we did not have to pay dollars. That means our stress on the dollar, foreign exchange requirement of the dollar has that much come down, because we don't need that dollar, because we are paying in rupee. As long as we were doing the payment in rupee with the Russian oil, things were fine for our foreign exchange. But in the last few months, like 2 months or 3 months, when Mr. Trump pressurized the Indian government to stop buying oil from Russia and switch over to the other oil from US oil or from the Middle East or from Venezuela, which basically again reverted back to the dollar pricing. That means what we used to pay in rupees, now we have to pay in dollar. That means our dollar requirement again increases. So therefore, I said the payment in rupee was basically a de-dollarization movement. It was basically a quest for retaining our national sovereignty. We will buy wherever we want to buy. We will buy what is good for our country, not dependent on, not be under the dictation of any other country telling us, no, you don't buy here, you buy this, you buy that. Therefore, de-dollarization is at the heart of actually India's regaining its economic sovereignty. And that sovereignty at this moment, we can very candidly say, is little chained. Because if we are not able to take a decision, you're not free to take a decision for whatever reasons for buying an important item like oil. You just see the screen. Yeah? By 23, Russia supplied around 35 to 40% of India's crude imports. And that we have to pay in rupees. So no pressure of the dollar here. But if we, and similar, there is so many other things. And other, like even one example, if we go little before, earlier we used to buy oil from Iran in rupees till 2019. Again, no pressure on for our dollar foreign exchange. Again, we were under pressure. We had to stop it. That we have to again revert back to dollar. The point is, as long as we are susceptible to a pressure from outside as to what financial policy we should follow, we will always see that our economic freedom will always be tied up. So even if we have political freedom, but economic freedom, we can say that we have not had full economic freedom. And therefore, de-dollarization is an important instrument to regain the economic freedom of the country. And these are examples I give. And therefore, what you mentioned, critically, yes, we are under strain for the dollar, but de-dollarization is what will take us and help us, India, regain its economic sovereignty, which is under siege now. I hope I have been able to make some sense.
No. I mean, that
Wonderful,
was
sir.
very
Dr.
good.
Grish, it made it very, very interesting. Sir,
No.
actually,
That
time is getting up.
but-
We may require part 3 from you, sir, because you have
Yeah.
created a kind of a thing. We are not able to quench the requirement of our listeners today. So I pray through on behalf of all of them to have part 3 where we will have one-to-one discussions and more questions coming, because the way you are answering it, it's some authority. It's making us to understand the world economic order and where India is situated and how we have to plan ourselves the future. And therefore, all our youth need to listen to you. That's what I feel. So, if you permit us, I will request Bhartraj to cast vote of thanks and request you for the part 3 again on your convenient day. We don't want to pressurize. I know you are under tremendous pressure from various organizations. That's my request, and I request Bhartraj to follow it up after Saab speaks.
Can I just make one statement what he has highlighted? I mean, yes, we may have a lot of economic power, but if the political power is not stronger in the world stage, no matter how much money you have, it's very easy to maneuver whichever way the others want.
True.
Yeah, we agree, sir.
So very true, Mr. Kodandram. We have more questions unasked and unanswered in today's session also. We started this session with an intention to quench all our thirst, but still our thirst is going on. So I request Umre sir to quench our thirst in part 3 session. So, thank you, sir, for making this session more meaningful, more purposeful, and scientific. So I thank all the participants for making this session more meaningful today. And we will have such sessions. We have given an idea. So you have encouraged us to design our session in a different way, in a scientific way. So that is how we take this message from you. So I thank all the today's participants, and Umre sir, and our overseas participant, Mr. Girish, for having made this session more colorful. So thank you all. And I request Umre sir to have one more session on the topic, and I request you to answer unasked questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, last word from you, sir.
Yeah, I think I'm really overwhelmed by this session and the way it is going. I really didn't expect that people will be actually interested in a topic like de-dollarization, but it's really very encouraging for me, and it feels good. Definitely, we can take it up in the times to come. But I want to share one thing that on the 29th, on the 31st of July, we are having a formal book launch of this de-dollarization in the Venkatappa Art Gallery. And we are also going to have a like art gallery, like pictures, de-dollarization in images show in the Venkatappa Art Gallery on the 31st, 1st, and 2nd. I warmly invite you all to please come for that event. I'll send a formal invite in the Times. Okay. So if you just finally, if you see on the screen, I must say that I'm very I'm very happy to share that our book De-Dollarization is being translated in the Russian language. Very good friend of mine, Alexander Shadov from Moscow, he is basically translating the book in Russian language, and it is edited by one of the deans of the Russian University. And they're giving the final editing shape to this. And if you're on your screen, if you see, that is the draft front picture of the De-Dollarization Russian edition. So this is, and it should be released in the month of August. And beyond that, hold me 1 minute more. And beyond that, another of my friends from China, Mrs. Megan Jingli, would be translating this book in the Chinese language and in the months to come. So why these two countries I've selected is important, because the de-dollarization movement is being driven by the BRICS countries. And the BRICS countries include Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So while so the languages of these 5 countries should be included for this book, because this is an international issue. And so we already are having a translation in Russian and Chinese. We are awaiting a person to get connected with for the Brazilian translation, which is the Portuguese language. We'll do it in the coming months. That's what I was very happy to share with you. Thank you again for having me here on this show. And it was a pleasure being here. I apologize for the technical things which happened for some reasons, but I think we made it good. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Certainly, we will have a part 3 as well as full cooperation for the ensuing book release program, and those 3 days, any volunteer service from Samprabha and our pensioners association, we are ready to lend it, sir, without any this one, with full love. Thank you, sir. Good night to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Good night. Yeah, take care. De-dollarization. It is happening.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Umre, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Vinay. Thank you.